Well, that was exciting, wasn't it? Bit of a launch trailer there, which is for Armored Warfare on PlayStation 4. It's well, it's on PC already. It has been for a while, and Armored Warfare is now sort of snuck out onto PlayStation 4. Now, it's at the moment there are actually only Founders Packs available. So to get the game, you'd have to pay for a Founders Pack, and that's for the next 2 weeks. It says it came out on the 6th of February, and it said it's going to be 2 weeks before it's sort of released for sort of general, and you'll be able to download it for free. And what is it? Well, as you can see, it's a tank combat game, similar to World of Tanks in a way. Although for the most part, from what I can figure out so far, now I'm not going to start going about all the tanks and everything else, I'm not a tank expert, but from what I can figure, as opposed to in World of Tanks, where you've got sort of World War One up until maybe 60s, end of World War One, end of World War Two, and sort of 60s tanks. With this, it seems to start around the 60s and progress onto sort of modern day and future tech, sort of prototype or concept tanks, if you want. So, I mean, to give you an example, that's a Bulldog. That's a tier 1 tank in this, and there are 10 tiers again. And this is just a bit of a tutorial. I'm just going to let it play through a bit of this. You do a couple of tutorials. One is just about movement and what have you, and this is a bit more of a sort of a combat tutorial where you get given a tank, and you have 5 classes of tank, and those are light tanks. Now, again, I'm not going to go into too much into these. I'm just going on what it says on their website and what they've classified these vehicles as. So you've got your light tanks, which are classed as your damage dealers. Normally fast, can work the flanks, don't have any armour. You've got your AFVs, or armoured fighting vehicles. They are sometimes tracked, sometimes wheeled, because that's something different with this. You have wheeled vehicles, which do kind of feel a bit different. Obviously, understandably, you can't turn them without moving, so it's not like with a tank where you can just turn on the spot. You actually have to be moving with your wheeled vehicles, which is, realistic, understandable. So your armoured fighting vehicles, they're essentially classed as your scouts. And again, these aren't my sort of, this is going on what they say their classifications are. So your light tanks, your damage dealers, it says. Your AFVs are your scouts, and they're usually armed with a high caliber machine gun or some sort of auto cannon, or some of them I've seen in here are actually armed with anti-tank guided missiles, that sort of thing. Some have an auto cannon and anti-tank guided missiles. I've just actually fired a gun launched missile out of my barrel at an enemy tank there as well. So yeah, light tanks, armoured fighting vehicles. You've got MBTs, or main battle tanks. Now these are your basically bruisers, which would equate to sort of your heavy tanks in World of Tanks. The most armour, but also the slowest and sort of more cumbersome. It did take me a while. I was messing around with the camera and settings and all sorts. It just took a while to get used to this. You've got your TDs, tank destroyers. Self-explanatory, really. Some of them are tracked, some of them are wheeled again, and the wheeled ones are bloody fast. Normally carry a damn good gun on them, and in this it says that they have a larger view range, so maybe they have a bigger view range than anything else. Well, there you go, that's tutorial over. I'll skip it on to some of the other bits that I've been doing on it. So yeah, I was talking about TDs. So yeah, you've got your TDs, like I say, they seem to have a bigger view range, and you also have SPGs, your artillery. However, artillery can only be used in PvE, player versus environment, where you've got, as you can see here, this is what I'm in now. This was actually my first PvE match, straight out of the tutorial. I'm in a Bulldog, and with the PvE, you go into you get into your queue, and depending on the tier of the tank, depends on the difficulty of the ops that you actually have there, and there are different ones. Although it does seem to be a bit bugged at the moment, because most of the time you queue up and the queue refreshes, so it's not the same op that's in the queue all the time. It goes through so many of them and refreshes every few minutes. So if you're fed up with doing the same op, you can just wait a few minutes and queue for the next one. However, at the moment, I don't know what's happening, but it seems to be that whatever op is on there, when you queue up, you get this one, Cavalry, where you've basically got to destroy SAM sites, and then you have to defend an area. Well, you don't have to defend, you have to take it over. Capture it, basically. Capture a location. And do you know what? It's not a bad game. There are a few issues that I have with it at the moment. I mean, I've not played masses of it, but there are a few issues. Like the controls are one. The tanks don't feel as responsive to drive, especially with the steering, and you only have 2 control settings, and the only thing it changes is instead of all your movement being on your left stick, your L2 and R2 become forwards and backwards. Fire goes onto R1, and L1 becomes a combination of lock on and zoom in. So you tap it to zoom, and you can zoom in and out with R3 as you can on World of Tanks. So the controls, a bit of an issue. Another one, and I don't know if this is right because I've not gone through quite all the tasks to unlock. I think I've unlocked just about everything in the garage. You sort of go through a series of tasks, and it unlocks various features in the garage, like your dealers, that sort of thing. And because these are mercenary lines, they're all very mixed. You've got one that's got Eastern and European stuff, like the Chieftain Mark 6 is a tier 4 main battle tank in this. So yeah, the control system, there's only the 2, and all it does is swap the shoulder buttons about, so that's a bit of an issue. And in the garage, you don't seem to be able to sell tanks. You unlock them, and you don't seem to be able to sell them, so I would like to see some sort of filter built in, or the ability to sell them. So yeah, there are a couple of little issues with the game, but it's just been released on the Founders Pack bit. Like I say, the actual game's not released for another 2 weeks yet. So if you do want it now, you would have to buy a Founders Pack. The cheapest, I think, is £12, and the next one is £16. And if I remember rightly, it's something like $20 and $27 for the same thing. Now, with the Founders Pack, you basically get an amount of silver or credits, whatever you want to call them. I think it's credits in this. You get an amount of gold, you get an amount of premium time, and even with the cheapest one, you get a premium tank. I think it's a tier 3 main battle tank. Now, I'm messing about with the controls there and what have you. Just skipping through, this is another one of the operations, and the tank I'm actually in is one that I got with the Founders Pack. So that's what I picked up. I picked up the second cheapest, and I got 2 premium tanks, and I got 2,000 gold, I think it was, and 2 million credits and 7 days of premium. And that would be, equate to the $27 one. Now, this tank that I'm in is actually an Object 430, and this is a tier 3 main battle tank on this. Obviously, it's tier 10 medium on World of Tanks, so it does work a bit differently. And there are other things as well, like the ammo. You don't seem to have an ammo count. As you progress through the tank, you unlock the different types of ammo, so they start. The only thing that seems to upgrade at the moment, now I've not got very far through it, are engines, smoke launcher, because you've got smoke screens, and then you unlock different types of ammunition or rangefinder or whatever. But you don't seem to have an ammo count. You just pay for the ammunition that you use, but that only seems to be for PvP, which is obviously player versus player. So yeah, there are a few sort of odd things in it, I think, especially because I think there's a trophy that says something about doing a certain thing in a match with only taking in a certain amount of ammunition, but if you don't have an ammo count, I'm not quite sure. So again, whether that's something that comes later on, I really don't know. So you do seem to have an infinite ammo supply. Now, this is one of the PvP modes. There's 2. There's global operations, which is available to you from the beginning, and then there is battle mode, which is available as soon as you get a tier 4 tank, and obviously I've got a tier 4 premium, so I could go into it, but I just haven't done yet. And battle mode is 15 on 15, sort of team deathmatch, and it's 2 bases, so it's essentially like your standard battle from World of Tanks. Global ops, which is this one, is a bit different. Now, this is after I died. You get unlimited respawns, and the base that I've gone into now is for what's called a wild card. And you capture this base and you get it. Now what I actually get is a stealth bomber run from this, which is quite fun. Nearly kill a teammate, but the enemy take him out first, thankfully, so I don't get any team damage. Yeah, but this is very different. When this match started, it was a clear day. It was clear and it was sunny, and as the game progresses, the weather changes, it goes to night, it turns to night time, and even the bases move. So the two sort of diamond shaped bases you can see on there at the moment, 1 and 2, they stay for a certain amount of time. There you go, he's just killed that friendly tank, and if you wait, because I'm not doing a very good job of driving, you will see a huge bombing run come in. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it got a bit closer, I was getting a bit worried. Didn't realise it was that big, but yeah, I've just taken a hit as well. So those bases will move, so after a certain amount of time, and I'm not quite sure how it works, whether you capture the base and the enemy team's points tick down. I wasn't really paying that much attention, I was just trying not to die a lot. And figuring out the driving, because like I say, they're not quite as responsive. And the terrain does have a lot more of an impact on your traverse speed in this, or it does seem to. So yeah, those bases will move, and you'll have to, you'll have to capture them. They'll move somewhere else. They'll get different numbers, and you have to capture them again. And I'll see if I can. In fact, no, I'll just leave it running because I donk up against somebody else. I'm going to sit in this bush and wait and hide, and try and capture this this base again. So yeah, this is your global ops. So like I said, changing battlefield, changing objectives. And with your PvE modes as well, you do have different objectives on there. Like on cavalry, you have to capture the thing, and you have to take out. You have to capture the downed plane, and you see it come crashing down at the beginning of the match. And you also have surface-to-air missile sites to take out as a secondary. On another one, we had to, I think it was destroy some trucks, and there was another one where we had to sabotage some big oil containers, huge oil containers at an oil refinery, and you had to sabotage those as a secondary, as well as defending certain control points throughout it. So it's interesting. It is. Now, another issue at the moment with it, obviously, with it being a brand new game, is player base. There's not many people on it. In fact, yesterday when I was trying to do this, I could not get into a PvP match. This was the only one I managed to get into in total, because I got bored and came out of the queue and went into a PvE. But in total, I think I was in the queue for about 17 minutes to get a PvP. However, last night, that was yesterday afternoon, last night, it was much quicker getting into games, quicker getting into PvE, and even getting into PvP. I did another one of the global ops. So I think. But anyway, so yeah, there were more people on it last night. But again, it does seem to be, and this is the issue that it had on PC, because the PvE is so accessible and so easy to grind out XP and everything else in there. It kind of detracts and takes away from the PvP player base, but hopefully that might not be the case on console, fingers crossed, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I have been enjoying it. It's not going to take over from World of Tanks for me, and I don't think it will in general take over from World of Tanks, but I think it's a decent game and it's a nice change. But as I said before, it's got a few issues, it does need a bit of work. It's crashed on me a couple of times, and I think the contrast on the shadows on the lighting, even though it does look very nice, I think it's a bit too dark, and I have turned the gamma up with that as well, so yeah, I'm dead. So back for a respawn, and me donking about with the controls. Another thing as well, that it seems, even if you have zoom memory on in the options, which is supposed to remember the zoom level that you had when you were last zoomed in, it doesn't seem to. You always seem to go into zoom on fully zoomed in, which is really off-putting and really makes you lose targets. You know, when you see somebody and try and zoom in, it can make you lose them. Now, have the bases moved? Yeah, the bases have moved, but 3 and 4, so they are in different places. And the other wildcards, which I forgot to mention, I don't know if there's any other, but the 3 that were on this map, or this match, there was the stealth bombing run, there was a spy plane, so you just pick anywhere on the map, the spy plane will fly around. In fact, you can see one just up in the top right corner if you look at the map there. And the other one was a pillbox. I never saw what it did. I managed to activate one and put one down, but I never saw what it did. I think I died again. But with the pillboxes, you put them at the specified locations, and you can choose which one to put them at. But it also went foggy as well on this, and as I mentioned before, you do have smoke generators or smoke grenades, which can be quite useful for getting away from people. Something that I've played a little bit of this on the PC, and something I have noticed is that you don't have headlights on your tank. On the PC, you have headlights on it which you can turn on or off for when it turns to night time when you get to nighttime missions. That's not on here. And there are some other bits which I'm hoping are going to come to this as well, like you get explosive reactive armour later on and things like that, and you can retrofit it to certain vehicles, I think, but again I only played a bit of it on PC. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I mean, it's definitely something that if you're enjoying World of Tanks still, but you want just something a bit different but still tanky, maybe have a look at it. Like I say, the Founders Packs, there you go, smoke grenade. The Founders Packs are out now, but the game isn't downloadable for free for another couple of weeks. But the base Founders Pack is fairly cheap, like I say, and you get a premium tank in there and a few other bits and bobs, so it might be worth having a look at and seeing what you think. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I am. I've been on it most of today, just having a potter about, trying to basically get the rest of the features in the garage unlocked, because you have to do certain things like upgrade a tier 2, etc. And it does work a bit differently with the upgrade system. You possibly, so far, it seems to progress quicker than you do on World of Tanks. But I don't know, it's just sort of my first impressions, and that's generally what this video is. Like I say, I don't know anything about the tanks in it. I know how they play in World of Tanks, what they're about, the armour and everything else in that. In this, very different. Very different, but hopefully I'm going to sort of learn a bit more about it, and fingers crossed bring more videos on it if the player base grows enough. You know, if it gets to a point where I just can't seem to get in PvP because I don't want to do PvE all the time, then it might be that I don't. But you know, we'll have to see how it goes, and hopefully the player base will grow on it, and it'll pick up, because yeah, you know, like I say, I've enjoyed playing it. Like, it's got its issues, as I said before. You know, they were just a few that I mentioned. I can't even remember all the little niggles and bits that I thought actually that could do with changing, or that could do with tweaking. I'll have to try and write them down when I notice them. But in general, yeah, it's a decent enough game, and definitely worth having a look at on the free one. If you don't mind forking out a little bit of cash, like I say, 12 quid, $20. If you don't mind forking out that little bit, then you know, it might be worth to have a look at now. But otherwise, just wait a couple of weeks for the sort of free download when the Founders sort of time goes off. Now, that's another thing as well with the colourblind mode. Obviously, me being colourblind, it's a bit odd, some of the colours, and it only seems to tell you, it doesn't alter its information bits depending on whether you've got colourblind or not. So it only told me what the penetration colours were for standard mode, so I had to guess for colourblind mode, and the darker it is, the circle, it seems to be the less likely you are to pen. So there you go. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. It's been a long enough video, a bit of an introduction to it. You've seen sort of roughly how it plays. I will try and get a bit more footage of this done and bring another video probably early next week, hopefully showing either a bit more of the global PvP. As you can see, it's going very misty now after the rain, and it's starting to go dark. I do like that. I really do like the way the battlefield changes throughout the match. But yeah, I'll try and bring you a bit more PvP stuff and something a bit more exciting. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that for now. Maybe thinking about giving this a go. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with another video for you. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.